Welcome, Divine Hearts, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your continual support here too. And over the past few years, we have been recording conversations with light keepers from all over the world who are doing immense work locally in their community, but also in the wider world. And my guest this week is one such lightkeeper who is doing immense work locally and worldwide too. And she's called Gaitana. And Gaitana is a light guide. Indeed, she is a light teacher. And she is here in divine service at this time, in devotion and in love for humanity and the evolution of humanity and planet Earth at this time. So let's open our hearts nice and wide to welcome Gaitana here to this space. So thank you so much, Gaitana, for being here.
Thank you, Lois, for this invitation and for giving us the opportunity to share our soul wisdom, our soul experience with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and it's our honor and it's our pleasure. So let's begin by asking you to share a little bit about your journey, because I know that you have a journey that's taken you into areas of academia and the passion that you have for education and academia. And so share with us as much as you wish of this journey that you have been on earlier on in your experience.
Sure. I've always been drawn to education, evidently, even in my human life. I was an English teacher and I did I went to university to get different degrees around education, thinking at that time that was the solution, that was my soul calling. But that was just my personality looking for achievements and meaning in life. And so I took different courses. And by the time my son was born, that was 2007, I had the first wake-up call where all my ordinary life was kind of beginning to be shattered. And I thought everything was okay. I had a very traditional, good life, you would say, but something was not working. And I was not completely aware of what was going on because I was completely externally focused. So in the external, I had everything, but I still had nothing. So with the birth of my child, 2007, it was an intense wake-up call where I started really asking those big questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Is this all that life means to me? But I didn't surrender necessarily to that call. I started reading about spirituality and taking some courses and inquiring a little bit, but still my personality was strong. So I went into university. I said, I know what the answer is. I need a university degree, right? That will give me all that I'm looking for. It's just that I don't know enough about, education and the education system. I've been in the classroom for many years, but now I need to have a master's degree in the administration of education. That was what the degree was in Spanish. And I said, this is what I'm missing. The bird's eye view of the educational system. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. So I went to university and it was a little bit challenging because I had this baby and still I had to study and read. And it was at night in the evening. So that meant a detachment also, that I had to leave my son with my husband then and a few friends who were looking after him so that I could go to university in the evening. But I started feeling that it was easy for me. Like I had to write papers and read lots of books and stuff. And for my mental body, that was exciting. And because I thought it was the answer. But once I was in that container of academia, as you call it, I felt there was something wrong there. So I was getting a lot of mental input and reading a lot and writing my papers and everything was flowing. But I was stressed and I was tired and I was not getting my answers. So in a nutshell, it's a long story, but 3 years later, I was about to get my master's degree in education. I had done all my courses and I had to present my thesis. And I had this moment, it was a breakthrough moment for me, where I was in front of my computer. I had been accepted by the director, the head of that school. And I was writing kind of the proposal of that thesis and what I was going to write about. And it was about alternative education already, but still within the matrix, right? Yeah. I didn't have this view that I have now. So I was sitting in my computer, like outlining the basics of that thesis. And something magical happened. At the time, I was living in a building where there was a little park and a pool and some games for children down there. And I was next to a window, and I was listening to young children giggling and having fun and being out in nature. And I was here in my computer, making the commitment that for 2 years, I would have to go into research, totally mental work. And I said, oh my God, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life and for the next 2 years. And something clicked and said, I'm not going to do this. This is the ancestral path. This is not what my soul wants. I didn't have the concept of a soul back then, that clear. But there was an inner voice or inner guidance saying, are you really sure you want to go down this path of academic study? And I said, no, it's not making me happy. It seems right, but it's not making me happy. So I made the decision right there to quit. And it was just like the thesis, like I had done all the previous work for 3 years. But I said, this is not what makes my heart sing. I need to quit. I need to detach from all this. And that was really when I think that my path changed. Kind of, I changed tracks. And it was in 2011, I think, 2012, around that I had the initiation by the Ascended Masters, and my life completely changed. But from that initial calling, it took a while. So 2007, it was my son being born. 2010, I quit university. 2017, 18, I got the initiation from the Ascended Masters. So it took me around 10 years to really surrender and to understand that I was here to do something different. It was still education, but now it's enlightened education.
That's so beautiful. And also I love, because you share, and I will be sharing all of your details below this conversation as well, so people can find you easily. But you have birthed this new teaching that you're sharing with others, Enlightened Education. And there are so many layers and avenues and pages in this huge book, in a sense, of teachings to assist others. But also the lovely thing is how your life was mirroring these changes within you as well. I love the reflection of doing a master's degree, sort of an initiation in a way, sort of leaving one frequency, sort of moving into something else. And I love how you speak about, also you mention on your website as well, that your thesis now became sort of a living experience, and that you're still experiencing that in many ways. And so you share with us what you feel comfortable about sharing about the initiation that came for you, and how you experienced this, if you're happy to share, or how you knew how to move forward step by step from there.
Yeah. So I think it's a path of infinite surrender. And so at that moment when I said, okay, I have to go down another road, but I didn't have a name or a concept for what that meant, I started reading about spirituality. By the year 2011, I had my first guru that I manifested through my consciousness. So I needed evidence that there was a path that I could walk, because it's not easy to quit your standard life and not have an alternative for that, right? So we created the alternative. And in my case, it was like a physical, externalized guru that gave me the first teachings and the first initiations. And I said, okay, this is real. There is another way. Later on, I called that the path of the Ascended Masters, and walking the path of the Ascended Masters, but I didn't have a concept of that back then. So I started doing meditations and reading books and applying the tools of my first guru. And there were great awakenings happening, but I didn't understand. It was too abstract for me back then. I was very mental. I was very academic. I was a teacher, a regular ordinary teacher. So everything I had to process through the mind. And there was this clearing of all my lower bodies, the awakening of my light body back then, not the completion of the process, but the awakening of that. And I couldn't explain what was going on. So at the very beginning, the first maybe 1, 2, 3 years, it was a little bit chaotic because I didn't have the framework of understanding. So that's why I care so much about walking others in this journey, and not only having the experience, but also collaborating the wisdom around it, because it can be a little bit disorienting and scary, because it's the human experience that is turning into the divine experience. Okay. And it's a total shift, like, you know about that. So when we have a framework, when we have a body of teachings, of wisdom, that's easier. So back then I was the only one in my environment going through that process. Like no one in my family or my friends or people around were receiving that calling. So it was, I say that I walked a mystical path. I'm a mystic in the sense that I explore everything from the inside out till I come up with the wisdom. And that's a beautiful path, but at the same time, you're kind of on your own, guessing sometimes what the next step might be, and totally surrendering to the unknown. But that has given me the training that I can lead from the unknown. I can live in the unknown. I'm comfortable in the unknown. But it was very hard at the beginning. So by the year 2017-18, it's where I had my first initiation with the Ascended Masters. In my case, with the Great White Brotherhood. It's not the only Ascended Masters, okay? But that's a very specific cosmology. And I was given my light name from the inner planes. And that's how I started receiving what we call the light codes. So Enlightened Education, it's our light technology for ascension that we are sharing with humanity, because we are here to support human planetary ascension. So the foundational technology is 33 light codes that came when I asked the question. I was giving one-on-one sessions back then. I was a Reiki master and life coach and had other modalities I was sharing. And I received this inner guidance that I had to start training others. And I said, I can only give one-on-one sessions. Like I need another toolkit for this, right? Because one-on-one is different. You have like all the focus and all the attention on one person. But then when you have to start training groups, that's a different story, right? So I said, okay, I used to be a teacher. I know about, planning and maybe giving a class or something, but I don't have the tools, the technology for this. And so when I asked the question, okay, can you help me? I didn't know who I was talking to back then. I was just talking to Source, I guess, saying, okay, can you back me up? I kind of know how to do it, but I don't know how to do it. Give me the tools, show me the way. And so we started receiving vibrational technology, that it was around rings and colors and frequency. And we took it from there. But then the technology was formed when we received these 33 light codes. So light codes are, you could say, affirmations, like I am enlightened consciousness. That's the first one. But they are encrypted. They are whole energy packages. And as you start chanting those light codes, you start awakening. So it's a way of really transitioning from the human experience to the divine experience, activating the divine genome, the Christ consciousness. And every time you do the chanting, the light codes are also building certain portals of energy that we open. So every 3, 4, or 6, it depends, light codes, they form a portal with a very specific frequency and the connection with one of the cosmic rays. So it sounds complicated, but it's beautiful, very easy, very practical. I'm a very practical being. I love things to make sense and to work and to create transformation. I'm not about the theory of anything. I don't like the theory. I love transformation. I love to see that this works. So we started receiving those light codes in meditation. when I asked, okay, one thing is to have the experience, but how do I share the experience with others? And so the answer was the light codes. They are kind of divine mentors, I call them, because every little affirmation, it's a whole package of wisdom. And by the time you sit with the light code, it starts opening inner aspects of your consciousness. And for that, we support you in the journey because it's intense. I mean, you are remembering the truth of who you are. And that requires a lot of support sometimes.
That sounds immense and really extremely beautiful. And it leads up beautifully because you are now based in the Dominican Republic. And I wanted to ask you how you found yourself to be placed there, which is just perfection. And also for you to begin to share with us, really, because you offer retreats and how people would come and what they could expect when they come to you, and the various ways that you work and the things that you offer. I know it's a huge question, but you can share what you feel is aligned.
Yeah, thank you, Lois. So we are originally from Argentina. So our native language is Spanish. And we started building the first community in Spanish in Argentina around these initial teachings. And we, by the year, I was 40, I was turning 40, and I had this inner calling that I wanted my enlightenment. That just came out from within. And I said, I need a trip for this. I need to really go out from my routine and go to another place and be by myself. And you have this access to the frequencies where I'm not looking after other people necessarily, but just with myself. But I didn't say anything. Just I received that calling inside. A week later, my mother came and said, I want to gift you a trip for your birthday. Because I know you will not invest on you necessarily right now, because I had other things in mind. I was working on my abundance back then. And she said, I want to gift you this trip. And I said, oh my God, like it's exactly the answer to my prayers. But to a certain degree, like I came here to the Dominican Republic. It ended up being here in Samana, Dominican Republic. And I said, okay, like I like the heat, the hot weather. I love the beach. So I said, sounds perfect, like another trip. But I didn't remember about that enlightenment trip, that calling for enlightenment. So we came here. It was for 10 days, that trip. And the moment I got off the plane and I really touched the land with my feet, there was like every cell in my body started remembering. And it was like this ecstatic or blissful experience. And I remember feeling, oh, I thought I was happy. This is happiness. This is true joy and bliss. And that was at the airport, right? So I then arrived at the hotel, like to have this 10-day experience. And I said, oh my God, this is home. This is going to change my life. I never felt like this before. So we spent the 10 days and I didn't want to leave, right? So, okay, we had to leave. And I was on the plane back to Argentina. And I started remembering very, very fast. And an inner voice, I hear inner voices sometimes. And the inner voice was saying, you have a mission here. And I was like, okay, I was a little bit naive about what that meant back then. And I said, okay, sure, count on me, thinking it was, I don't know what I thought. Back then I was a Reiki master and a life coach. I was doing energy healing. So I said, okay, maybe sending frequencies coming, a few months during the year. Okay, maybe. And they kept on saying, you're going to come alone first and then with your family. And I said, sure, like maybe in 2 years' time, I was returning from the trip, right? And a month later, I was here by myself for 21 days, having a very deep experience of consciousness. And then by December of that year, like 3 months later, I came with Yantal. I'm going to introduce who Yantal is and my son. And then we started bringing groups from Argentina for the original retreats. And that's where all the light posts started being downloaded onto us to complete the technology. And then there's more to the technology, but the 33 light posts are the foundational thing. And so 2017, 18, 19, before the lockdown, we brought groups here, but we were based on Argentina still. And it was 2019 where we felt this inner calling, okay, you have to move here, definitely. And it was like, really? Because we are okay coming and going, because we had our family there and that original community and everything. And it says, no, I mean, if you really want to hold the frequency and anchor the frequencies here and align with your mission, you have to move here, like for good. Back then, we didn't have the money, like all the money that we needed for that relocation. We had our children and family there. So it was not an easy choice, like leaving everything. So once more, there was this next level of surrender, and we said yes right away. And the following year, we were going to move here in early 2020. And you know what happened in that year collectively. And so we could come here eventually in September 2020. It was the only flight coming from Argentina to the Dominican Republic or anywhere. And coincidentally, the September the 24th, when we could come here for good, September the 24th is the day that the patron of this land is being celebrated. It's the Lady of Mercy. It's one of expression of Mother Mary, of course. And so it's the day of the patron of this land. And it was the only day there was a flight to come from Argentina and move here, definitely. So I took that, and we took that as a confirmation and a blessing, and the Ascended Masters and Mother Mary blessing our journey and mission here. And so we really surrendered everything to come here, and we started anew, because here we had to find, okay, where to stay, and we were indicated where, and to start, everything, like the bank account, the foundation, everything from scratch. So it was amazing. We had a great support, and here we are, and it's the vortex where we are being called to support. We want to attract souls to this vortex. We are not the kind of teachers that will be traveling worldwide. We are more magnetic in that sense. So we want to be attracting the right souls to this vortex, and then everyone taking these teachings and initiations and vibration to their places in the world. For us, it's the fastest way to create global community, so that we spend maybe a week or 2 weeks together here, but then souls go back to their places, and we all take responsibility for the grid, okay? And we take this vibration everywhere. So now we are here in Samana, Dominican Republic, beautiful weather. In nature, we live on the beach, we have palm trees around and very clean air, beautiful, beautiful space. But it was a big decision. And again, we didn't have all the resources, and we had to have these conversations with family, kids, and everything was aligned, and we had this support, and everything was sorted out magically, really.
Oh, how wonderful and how immense, and such a journey of trust as well.
Yeah.
But it's such a beautiful inspiration for others to take, listening from that, really, to trust their knowing and their inner voice and their soul that speaks through. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And the changes, so it's all perfect. It's just beautiful. And then you were speaking about Yantal, so you introduced Yantal into the partnership as well.
Sure. So 2016, I had my divorce in 2015. So part of my surrender was acknowledging the fact that the family dynamics I was in was not healthy enough. It was not supportive of my journey. I had created that from fear in a lower state of consciousness, and that had to come to an end for both of us to really follow our true paths. And it was a regular partnership. It was not something, that you would say, oh my God, you have to get a divorce. So that was a shock to everyone around, because we had like a good relationship, but I know it was not real love. No, it was not the higher calling. So I had a healing process that took around 6 months, where I didn't want to have anything to do with love anymore. I said, I finally got my divorce. I'm free. I'm not partnering with anyone ever, because I'm tasting, this frequency of freedom and being on my own and having my own space. And I went into a very deep healing process of the heart, of understanding, first of all, why I had created that previous family or relationship. And with all the respect that meant, because I needed that experience, but I had to heal from that also, because it was very disempowering on a certain level. And so I went on 6 months of very conscious healing of my heart, saying, okay, I need to trust love again. I need to find real love. And there's healing in my heart that needs to happen. But really not believing that I would be partnering with someone again. But as I was healing and doing my rituals and surrendering and enjoying my private space also, towards the end of those 6-7 month period, I received guidance from my soul saying, this was a ritual. I got a white rose and a red rose representing the masculine and the feminine. And I had a kind of a backyard. So in English, you would say, I dug, a space for that. And I planted there the roses and I covered the land. And I did my ritual saying, okay, I want to find real love, that these roses are together, forever in communion to serve the light. And I'm just going to wait for real love to manifest in me, first of all, and only then outside of myself. Because I remember that I wanted a divine union in this incarnation. But I didn't have a concept of that either. So the moment I did a ritual, I wrote down a letter. I was in the living room of my home. And I just wrote a letter to Source saying, I'm not going to do anything externally to attract this union. It has to just present itself in my reality. And that's the key, that it's real, it's authentic, and it's coming from within. It's my inner manifestation. So a few weeks later, Yantal appeared. I knew him from before, but I didn't make the connection that we were a divine union. Everything was so coincidental and we were walking the same path and everything, but I just didn't figure that one out. So by the time I wrote that letter, we were kind of friends and we were sharing the path, but we didn't make that connection back then. And the moment I wrote that letter, and I even said in the letter, the man, because I knew it was a man for me, so the man that is entering my reality, representing real love for me, needs to walk down the stairs and I will open the door and he will walk down the stairs of my home, because I lived in a place where you had to walk down. A week later, I opened the door and I saw the same vision. He was coming down the stairs to come into my home. I said, oh my God, he is the one, right? And things started clicking, and he was also doing his affirmations and his intentions on his own without, sharing that aspect of the journey. And I only knew it was him. And that was fundamental for our journey and mission, because we come to represent one option. It's not the path for everyone to be in divine partnership, but for us, that was the calling. He was very devoted at that time to the A Course in Miracles. And there is the concept there of, I don't know in English how they call it, but it's like light partnership or divine partnership. And so he brought this concept of, yes, this exists. It's not something intuitive. It's real, and you can have that possibility. And then I even heard that in the age of Aquarius, it's a template for many souls, because the family, this Christ family, is the template for the age of Aquarius. And from the family, we build community and so on. So it's a beautiful template. And we are showing the way from that, with the balance of the divine masculine and feminine coming together. And like, we live together, we serve together, we meditate together, we are together all the time. And it's beautiful for many people, this can be even alien, because like, can you share those many hours with someone, and yes, and for us, it's our partnership, our divine union is constantly renewing. When one of us ascends a little bit more, the other one also ascends, and we find each other in the next level. So it's beautiful, because it's a mirror of growth. It's a mirror of light. To be creating this type of union in your life with someone inside and outside of you, it's huge, because it means that you can't escape from yourself again. Because you made the decision in you, but there's also someone reminding you of your potential, of your promises, of your contract, you know. So it's really when you say, okay, this is my path, my journey, it's ascension. And I want to make sure that I create everything inside and around me to be victorious, right? My name, Gaitana, means the victory of the light. So we are here to serve the light, and to show that the masculine and the feminine don't have to compete. There's space for both of us. The reason why I'm doing the interviews and everything is because I speak English. He understands English, but he speaks Spanish. And for a weird reason, all our service unfolded in English. So I'm more visible, but we are always supporting the writing of the books and the mission, the two of us.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And it sounds, it's such a beautiful template as well, because there's no holding each other back. It is about the evolution and the supporting of the evolution of both, which is just, you know, it's just so beautiful and pure and divine and organic, really. So it is showing us that really clearly, which is really beautiful.
It's like, I think of, you know, the infinity symbol. Like, yes, it's one, but at the same time, there's space for each one in that partnership, and it's kind of the feedback from one to the other that grows us both. So it's kind of the infinity symbol, the living infinity symbol that we are experiencing.
That's so wonderful. Speak to us about, because you mentioned a few times about the humanity and where we are going as a humanity, and what this looks like for you, you know, the work that you are doing and the beings that you wish to work with. And also you speak of the I am presence, creator consciousness. You share in your way, you know, how this all blends together for you, and what you see for the evolution of humanity through the work that you do.
Yeah. So my understanding is that we are moving from a dark age, and dark means just that we don't remember who we are. We are unconscious, and moving into a golden age. So golden age means, to me, the permanent remembrance of who we are. Like, we never forget again. That's enlightenment. That's God realization. So we are all being called. Many are the called, but few are the chosen. But many are being called to really manifest this golden age. So what is a golden age? A golden age requires that we all clear our vessels. We let go of the old paradigm and patterns. And there's a process where we clear all our bodies. We have to open our heart center as a portal. I'm not talking about the organ of the heart, like the portal of the heart, where the Christ resides and abides. And then we have to awaken, activate our light body. And that's how we can function in this golden age, because we have to really upgrade our vessels, body and consciousness, to be functioning in this golden age. So it's an age of crystalline consciousness. Crystalline means that we are crystallizing the light. So it's, to me, the big shift between the Piscean age and the Aquarian age is that there was a lot of dogma created along the Piscean age. So even in the spiritual or religious realms, people repeating things by heart or understanding things on a mental level, but not processing or assimilating the teachings, not becoming the teachings. And the age of Aquarius, it's an age where we have to embody the light. We have to be the Christ in action. So this requires a total reconversion. And we can only see the manifestation of that golden age, which is a state of consciousness, only when we individually reach that level of consciousness. And I was sharing yesterday in our YouTube channel that, so what does ascension mean? We talk about ascension, illumination, enlightenment. What does that really mean? Because there's no end point to the journey. But at the same time, there is kind of a moment of enlightenment or ascension. So ascension has to do with the quickening of the atoms. Many people think of ascension as like we are going up. So we are not going up to a higher place necessarily. It's about the quickening of the atomic structure. So when we have a lot of toxicity, when we are holding on to a false belief system, and we have a lot of dogma and doctrine, what happens is that we are functioning at a very slow rate. Now we are slow. We think slow, we act slow, we take a lot of time, we procrastinate, because there's a lot of toxicity. So something that we were gifted from the Ascended Masters in this age, through Saint Germain in particular, is the violet flame. I know I listened to one of your videos many months ago. You were talking about the Hathors, so it's kind of a very similar frequency also, clearing all the elementals and the lower bodies. And we have to go through that process of purification. And it's a process of purification by fire. So this means burning records, burning memories, burning the causes and effects of disharmony. And fire, it's a very beautiful element, but it's very intense. Because when something is being consumed and you're attaching to those records or patterns, it feels like you are burning, you are on fire, but it's just the old personality. So there has to be this process of purification. And that's what humanity most resists, because we don't want to face our miscreations. We only want to see the light. That's one of the distorted patterns of the New Age. It's only about positive affirmations, speaking about the light, but we have to take responsibility for the return of the karma. Karma just means that it's the law of retribution. What you offer, you receive. What you give, you receive. And to clear the records, we have to be aware of the records, right? And we have to clear all that maturely with intention, and there's rituals and ceremonies to be doing that. So what is creating this golden age is all this cycle of purification, and everything is coming to the surface. All that we have been hiding, all that we have been sweeping under the rug, that has to be acknowledged. And it's a beautiful process, because many people think that the return of karma is a process of punishment for humanity. No, it's a process of responsibility, of maturity. Yes, when we can face all of our creation, we can make new decisions. We can understand what went wrong, quote unquote, okay? We have the wisdom, we have the medicine from the purification. So many people, many souls are resisting that purification, but it's happening. Like, if you surrender to that, you will get a lot of support from the higher octaves, from the ascended host, from all of us who are supporting this transition. So I would say, don't fear the process of purification. It's happening on the planetary level for the Earth herself and her consciousness. And she's just a mirror of what we are going through as well. The Earth is clearing also. And she's saying enough is enough. We can't continue down this road, because we will just be killing ourselves. It's self-destructive how we are functioning right now, okay? So we have to be reconnected to the vortex of light, to an ascension vortex or spiral. And for the majority of humanity, we are in a downward spiral. And that's why there is depression, and there is, divorces, and there is lack of energy and vitality, and so many looping patterns. So we have to reverse that spiral and start going upwards. And that requires this purification, the acceleration of the atomic structure, a lot of inner clearing. And then we start functioning and feeding from the light. And that's what we need right now. Like the main form of nourishment in the golden age is the cosmic light. Not that we stop eating, please. That's another distortion. What I mean is that apart from eating very healthy food and what's supportive for our bodies, the accelerator, the catalyst, comes from cosmic light. But we have to have a clear vessel, because what happens if we start meditating and absorbing light and we have a lot of toxicity? We feel awful. It creates a lot of chaos and crisis in the body, because the body starts hurting because of the accumulation of all the toxicity, right? So there's the purification. This is happening through choice. That's why Jesus said, many are called, but few are the chosen. Who are the chosen? Nobody's choosing you. Nobody outside of yourself. You choose yourself. If you feel worthy of this experience, if you remember that you're one of those souls who came to manifest heaven on earth, yes, which again is a state of consciousness and requires us to hold the frequency. We are manifesting frequency or from frequency now. Yeah, but we have to hold that frequency first. So it can be a challenging process when we are identified with a small self. But there is a way, and in our case, it's walking the path of the Ascended Masters. The Ascended Masters, like Jesus could be the most popular one, but there are so many Ascended Masters under different rays of creation. And the beautiful thing about these beings is that they were human like us. So they understand, they have no judgment, they don't punish you, they don't say, oh my God, what are you doing? No, they've done the same stuff. They had the same initiations. We are all different, but in a sense, the template of enlightenment is universal. It's the same initiations we all go through with our characteristic particular stories, but it's a universal template. So the Ascended Masters are deciding to kind of remove the veils that separate the 3-4D with the 5D and beyond, so that we can really feel their presence, know it's real. And they are assisting us by sharing with us all that they did, all the tools and the keys of ascension, because it worked. And they are the example that a human can turn into a divine being. And that's the path we're all walking, right?
Oh, Gaitana, there's so much wisdom in everything that you've shared there. And so much power as well in the way that you are sharing, giving us some insights and deeper understandings about things. So thank you so much for that. And before we close for today, we might connect again, I hope. But before we close today, one thing that I found really inspirational that you speak about too is, and it is along the same thread here and the same vein that you've been speaking of now, that we are not about battling against the old in a way, or the old structures, that it is about allowing the way for innovation from within ourselves as our master selves returning. So speak more to us about that and what you mean by that.
Yeah, so innovation or precipitation, like manifesting something new, never comes from rebellion, never comes from fighting the old. It doesn't come from a war consciousness, right? So every time that we are trying to fight against something or reject something, that's not going to bring something new. So this is a path of love. It's a path of wisdom and power. It's done through the threefold flame in the heart. For those who might not be aware, in our heart, there is sacred fire. We have 3 beautiful flames. It's a flame of power, of wisdom, and of love. And that's how we can start creating a new reality for ourselves. And so it's the path of non-resistance. So we leave the old structures and systems like they are. We learn from that, and we just create the new. It's kind of a parallel universe that we are creating, because let's not be naive. I mean, all the old structures right now have a lot of power and support. If you want to fight those structures, you're not going to make it, because they have a lot of resources, they have a lot of power. It's a matrix, and that's real. And it's a matrix of a lot of power. So we leave that as it is. Yes, we don't have to prove anything. We don't have to change anyone. They are playing their game, those who are in that matrix. And there's a reason for that. So this is about co-creating with Source, the Ascended Masters, or the light beings, something altogether new that's coming from within. All the codes, all the records are within to be manifesting heaven on earth. We all have a vision, a sense of what Eden or heaven might look like, right? We all have that since we are kids. We might lose faith sometimes or not, but that code is in the soul. And so let's not focus on fighting against others, because that's disempowering and we lose a lot of energy. We waste energy that way. Let's focus on creation. So this requires going within, spending time with Source, in communion with Source, remembering and just saying, yes, I want to collaborate. And you will start receiving the downloads, the messages, the guidance, the right communities to be co-creating with, okay? And then you start finding soul family and light community and the teachings and the path in itself. But we have to understand that every time that we reject or condemn a reality, we exacerbate that energy. So this is finding the peaceful resolution. And it comes from the creative energy from Source. Source is not against anyone or anything. It's just allowing us out of free will to create and have the experiences that we deserve, that we require to grow. And we are all in different points of our journey. So it's none of our business, what other people are doing or choosing. It's their journey. It's what they need to learn and what their soul is requiring to grow. And they need those lessons. So again, there's space and room for all of us. And it's about just holding the frequency, enough of us, of this golden age. And that's what we need to do, like focus on what we want and not on what we don't want. Because we know that what you focus on expands. So do we want to be focusing on politics and the news? And we don't, okay? We just leave it as it is. We pray for that energy to evolve and to receive the light, but we focus on the creative light. And if I may share, Lois, there's one of the Ascended Masters, El Moria, who is like the main mentor. He's the one helping us initiate the path of enlightenment, because it's all about creating the right platform to ascend, order. He's the statesman. So it's about governing ourselves and others in a good way. So he has this mantra, thy will, not mine, be done. That's the mantra he gives us. And this is very important to understand. There's a difference between free will and divine will. Free will is for the personality saying, I can do whatever I want. Yes, because I'm a son or daughter of God and I can do whatever I want. That's the free will of humanity. And we know the result of understanding free will in that manner. It's the earth we have now. But then there is a divine will. It's where the small self and the higher self merge together. And there's a bridge of energy we can create for that. And then we start respecting the higher will. So that's how we create reality. If we are not sure if we are making the right decision, if we are not sure how to create the new, we can give that mantra, thy will, not mine, be done. And you will be shown the higher will, not the rebellious way, the higher way, right? So you can invoke El Moria. He's under the blue ray of divine, the divine will, divine power, divine faith. And to me, really, El Moria is very supportive because we have to create the foundation for ascension. We've been making so many decisions, and by now we think that the ego is our friend, and all that's coming through the mind is valid. And we have this, many human beings have this take on the free will that if I have free will, I'm going to use it as I like. And that's freedom. No, that's rebellion, actually. But still, God gives you, Source gives you that opportunity. Yes? Because God trusts us that we will eventually mature and we will eventually surrender to the divine will, which is nothing else than our highest will. It's not a will coming from outside of yourselves. It's what we all want. It's this golden age manifested. Yes, we can give it different names, but we all want to be sharing a humanity that is based on love and truth and sincerity and collaboration and this big brotherhood or sisterhood. We all want the same. We can give it different names and we have, different conceptions or cosmologies for that. But if you ask any human being sincerely, like, what would you love to be experiencing? Love and joy and health and abundance, right? It's very basic. We all want the same. And then we create all this division and names and religions, but we all want the same and we're saying the same and looking for the same. But for that, we have to surrender to the one voice, which is God, Source, our creator. And we will find that God represents all of us. And surrender to that. So thy will, not mine, be done. And it's the Christ teachings. Jesus, he also operates from the same consciousness. So you can invoke the blue ray, El Moria, or just give this mantra, thy will, not mine, be done. And so that you're one of the souls wanting to transition to this new earth and help us manifest all this, because it's for all of us. It's a collective reality that we want to be manifesting.
Gaitana, you have been so wonderful. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you here. And I hope we will be able to meet again and share you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lois. It's been a pleasure.